Hello guys and welcome to a new video. My name is Hunter for the ones that are new here. On this channel we are all about lifestyle. We are always on a self-improvement journey and it is definitely a growth world. So if that's something you want to see on a consistent basis, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay guys, so I am coming with a highly requested video. For the ones, many of you may know, many of you may not know, I am into school. I am in school to be a radiologic technologist, specifically an X-ray tech. I am at the end of my journey, and this is something I vlog a lot or record a lot on TikTok. You guys follow my journey. And I get a lot of questions. Sometimes I really can't go into depth because it's so lengthy, and I just want to share some of my knowledge of some things that'll, if you want to get started in the medical field, specifically X-ray, I want to answer some of those questions for you. I'm kind of well versed at this point. I will be graduating at the end of this year, so I would say I learned a few things I think will be beneficial to you guys. So I have about, I think, like 8 questions I wrote down. Most of the questions I get on TikTok all the time. And I'm going to go ahead and answer some of those questions. I'm not going to make this video too long, only because I can get into depth and it can get lengthy. There's a lot of things that I would love to talk about, but I can go on and on. So I'm going to give you everything you really need to get started and some tools you may need once you get into the program. And I'm going to put them in layman's terms as best I can. First question I get a lot is, what is a radiologic technologist? So a radiologic technologist is a medical professional who performs diagnostic imaging, specifically X-ray. We perform diagnostic imaging of the bones. You have 206 bones of the body. So for example, if you come into the emergency room and you maybe have a dislocated shoulder, that's usually a bone thing. So they'll send you to radiology. We'll get the images and we'll send them off to the radiologist. The radiologist will read it and we can see any fractures, anything that happened to your bones. We can see it. So within X-ray, a lot of people go into different modalities. So X-ray is like the basic. You can go from there into something called MRI. You can go into CAT scan, and we do images. Where CAT scan does images of the soft tissue, like the muscles and the organs. You can go into IR. You can go into PET scan. You can go into nuke med. You can go into a lot of things. So it's a really great industry to be in, only because the modalities, the specialties, and the pay, there's really no cap. You can keep going. So you guys can look up some of those modalities that I talked about. But yeah, I get a lot of questions about what's X-ray. Another question that I get a lot is, what schools can I apply to, or what schools have this program? Now that's a loaded question because I live in Georgia. However, wherever you live, you can just go on Google, type in radiologic technology program, and put in your zip code, and it will tell you. However, if you live in Georgia, these are a few schools that you can apply to. I think I covered basically most of the schools. There might be one or two, but I work with a lot of students from other schools. So this is the schools that I see a lot in rotation. Atlanta Technical College. There is South College, Fortis College, Grady Health, Cambridge College of Healthcare and Technology, and of course I believe they have a Florida campus as well, and they also have an Atlanta campus. So those are the colleges that you can apply to in Georgia with the program. Okay, so the next question, and I get this question a lot, is what are the prereqs for this program? Now, every school has different prerequisites, and prerequisites are just courses that you need to have or take before you start the actual program. Now, what you can do is, and I'm going to leave the schools that I mentioned, I'm going to leave the link below. You can go to the link and just click on it, and it'll tell you what the prereqs are. Of course, it varies from school to school. And I also know, and this is usually universal to the schools, of wherever the prerequisites are, you have to have taken them. So if you are transferring from another school, you would have to have taken them within 5 years, or they don't count. So a lot of times with the prerequisites, you can take them once you get accepted into the program. You can take those courses. You just won't start like the clinicals or anything of that sort until they're completed. So yeah, with my school, the prereqs that I had or transferred over were English 1, math math college algebra, or math modeling, I think it's called now, medical terminology, and intro to computers. So I think the only class I had to take, and I think sociology, I believe too. I didn't have that written down, but I can put in a link below, just to in the box below, just to reiterate or just confirm basically. But I had English 1, math college, I already had that, of course. I think I had to take medical terminology, and I had to take intro to computers. So once I got accepted into the program, those were, and I took like 2 other classes. I don't 100% remember, but those are the courses that they allowed me to take while I was on campus, before I even got into the program, basically. Okay, and then so how it, just to give you guys a timeline, I applied in I applied, I think, in November of 2024. I got accepted. They called me. I did like an interview over the phone, and I also submitted some college transcripts I had prior. And then yeah, so I did that. I got accepted January of 2025. I didn't start my clinicals or the actual core classes until May of 2025. So yeah, that's how it went with me. We were talking about the prerequisites, and I touched on that a bit. And also, another thing that a lot of schools actually require is something called the HESI or the TEAS test. My school did not require it, but it's basically a general knowledge test that you take to make sure you're ready to get back into school in general. It doesn't matter, the program. I think like nurses require this too. A lot of programs require it, but it's a general knowledge on like English, on science, and I believe math, and like basically critical thinking. Now, I didn't have to take the test, but I was going to apply to a different school, and they required it. So one thing I did get, and I know, first of all, Quizlet is your best friend. If you never heard of Quizlet, if you're going back to school, you need to get into Quizlet. Quizlet is basically a forum for students who's taking a course or in the middle of a course, and they put together like practice questions. And for example, what I do is I will say, so say I'm in anatomy and physiology for my program. I'll put anatomy and physiology in Google, and I'll put like chapter 2, and we're doing radiation, something, we're doing, what can we do? Radiation therapy or something like that. And it'll come up with an array of questions and answers. And these are people who are in the course. So I think Quizlet is really good, especially when you get into the program and for the T's. Basically, I think you can put in like Quizlet and put the HESI or the T's in, and just do general knowledge question. You can put English, or you can put science or whatever. But also, I got this book, and I got this book off of Amazon. I can also send that link. This book helped me a lot. I actually did take the HESI, and I passed it. I just didn't need it for my school. So it wasn't a complete waste of time, because a lot of things that are in here actually helped me spruce up on a lot of things that I forgot, honestly. Let me see. I'm trying to go into something in here and read you guys like a question. Let's see. So this is so I'm just reading straight out the book, and this is like grammar, English, and certain things that if you take the HESIs or the T's, when it comes to that, they'll ask you the correct grammar or the correct way to write it. Incorrect. This is the example. It says incorrect. The drive to New York takes 10 hours. My uncle lives in Boston. Now, they said that's the incorrect way to say it. The corrected way to say it is the drive to New York takes 10 hours. Period. My uncle lives in Boston. So I guess the incorrect one basically had a comma when it should have had a period. But that'll be the type of things they test you on. Let me see if I can find you guys another example in um a different subject. Okay, so now I'm looking at math. I wrote all into this book. I don't even know if you guys can see it. But if you can, this is the type of questions they're asking for math, but I'll actually also read it out. So this question is: a woman must earn $250 in the next 4 days to pay a traffic ticket. How much will she have to earn each day? And it's A, B, C, D, and E. And they give you the correct answers in the back, but that's something they want you to do some simple math like that. And like simplify the expression. They give you like 7 plus 16 minus, and then they put in parentheses. So they're doing like exponents and things of that sort. So you can get this book. Like I said, I will link it so you can look at all the examples. But yeah, That's another thing. A lot of the schools will ask you to take an entrance test like that, and you, depending on the school now. So that's why I always keep telling you guys to refer back to the school website. And like I said, I will have it linked, and just see what you need to get. Some schools you need to get 75. Some schools you need to get 80, 85. Not sure, just depending on the school. And that's how you can kind of differentiate what school you want to go to. Entrance tests are kind of necessary, but kind of not, because a lot of things you will learn in the prereqs that you have to take anyway. So you don't really need to take that test. It is what it is. So let's get on to the next question. What do you wish you knew before going into the program? Now, that's a really good question, honestly, because when I first got and accepted into the program and I was just doing the classes online, like I said, the intro to computers, it was easy. Like it was just things that you probably did in high school. And I did go to college prior to this. I didn't finish, but I did go to college prior to this, and it was just like elective courses that we were taking. However, when we got into the anatomy and physiology, the core classes, we had to learn 206 bones. There are 206 bones in the body, and it was very vast. It was in depth, and it was overwhelming, I would say. Things that you thought you knew about the body, you don't. So we're learning about the tib fib. We're learning about all the phalanges. We're learning about the shoulder. So like I said, you have to memorize 206 bones, because when you go and you become a tech, you become an X-ray tech, and a patient comes in and they want a certain X-ray. They want X-ray of the hand, X-ray of the knee, X-ray of the ankle. You have to know where to shoot, and you also need to know what you're looking for, because if you're taking an X-ray, and we are the ones that also evaluate that. We don't read the images, but we evaluate it. We need to know if the position is correct, because a radiologist or a doctor will request certain views, which you'll learn. Trust me, when you get in the program, you'll learn. I don't want to overwhelm you too much, but they'll request certain views of the bones, and you have to know, like, did I over rotate that? Did I shoot that right? Is that the right bone? So learn the anatomy. That is the best advice I can give you, because if you know the anatomy, when you get situational questions or you get any type of like positioning questions, you will know, at least you'll know what you're looking at. So if I have to tell you anything, is learn the anatomy. Megan Peretti is really good on YouTube. I would recommend her. I would recommend honestly Clover Learning is really good. Like I said, I'll put all those in my links, and you can just go to Google, and I typed in learn all 206 bones of the body. And I did this after schools. I wish I did this before, because I wouldn't have I had a really hard time in the beginning learning, and I had to go home and reinforce everything that I learned every single day. So I will say, learn the anatomy, but I used to go on Google and I was like, teach me about all 206 bones of the body, and all things would come up, like little quizzes I can take, free quizzes, and little like matching the bones of the body. You can go to YouTube and really pick anyone and just go through and just like try to get a grasp on it. So yeah, learn the anatomy. That is the best advice I actually can give anyone that is trying to get into the program. Okay, another question. I didn't write this down, but I just wanted to touch on this. A lot of people ask me, what is the price of school, and can you get loans, and do they do payment plans? So like I said, it is school based. However, with my school, I went to the FAFSA website, and a lot of you probably are familiar with FAFSA. It's like federal government funding, and like I said, I will put the website link below. I went to the FAFSA website and I applied. It's really self-explanatory. There's also a 1-800 number on the website that if you need to call someone to help you with the FAFSA, they can do that as well. I applied for FAFSA, and then also through that, you can get some government loans. Depending on what your school charges, I think it starts from like 20,000 up to like 35,000, maybe even more than that. It changes every year, so I really can't tell you what it is for every school today. I will link everything below. Just click the links. It'll be really easy, and it'll take you right to what you guys are looking for. But yeah, so I did that, and my school does take payment plans. So whatever you get, if you get any FAFSA funding, if you get any loans, you can work out a payment plan with the admissions office or registration office. I believe that's what it's called. Every school is different, like I said. So yeah, you can get funding. You can usually set up payment plans, and if you apply for FAFSA, of course, you can have FAFSA cover your expenses. Okay. This is a question that I get a lot, and this is actually a very important question because this is how your schedule will look throughout the program. Now, every school is different, but this is a good This is a good overall general look at your schedule. So the question is, could you tell me what your clinical schedule and days typically look like? Now, after you finish your prerequisites, and there's some core classes that you need to usually take before you get into clinic. So you just basically you're learning about positioning. If you need to position, the part a certain way. So when you go to clinicals, you'll know a little something. Trust me, when you get into clinic, you will not know anything. Like you'll know what your teacher taught you, but it's completely different from school. There are all types of you have to critically think because there's all type of positions that you can be put in with the patient, and you have to think quick on your feet. So don't get intimidated when you get to clinic because there are techs that have been there 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years that have an array of knowledge, and you want to soak all that in. But trust me, every clinical site I go to, I always feel like I don't know what I'm doing. So that is very normal. But I think I asked the question. Could you tell me what your clinical schedule and days look like? So when I got into the program in January, I started clinicals May of 2025. Now, with my school, it does look different from every school, but this is a gist, and I work with students from, basically every other school in Georgia. So I kind of know how things work. But like with my school, we started in May of 2025. Each rotation was 7.5 weeks. So my first rotation, was May. I went from 8 to 5, and it was 7.5 weeks. Now, keep in mind, the schools will tell you too. Make sure you look for this. They can send you up to 100 miles back and forth. A lot of schools will work with you, and you tell them your zip code, and they'll try to get you close. But just keep in mind that you may not get anywhere close to where you are, so you need to have reliable transportation. I know in Georgia, the public transportation is not very vast like it is back in New York. So it's important to maybe have a car. If the transportation goes where like the MARTA goes where your clinical rotation is great, doesn't always happen. So you want to kind of have reliable transportation. Remember that. However, like I said, it was 7.5 weeks. I went from 8 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. I mean, till 5 o'clock at night. And then when I switched my next 7.5 weeks after that, I went from 2 to 11. After that 7.5 weeks was over, I went from on the weekends. You had to do 12-hour shifts, which a lot of schools also do this. Saturday and Sunday, 12. What was 7 to 7. Then my next rotation after that was back to 8 to 5. And I have a few rotations left, and they can be back from 2 to 11, 7 to 7. Like, so you have to know, and this is very important. Remember this when you are applying. They can change your schedule at any time. They can change your hours. They can change the days. Oh, I don't even think I mentioned the days. The days were Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, then Saturday and Sunday, then Tuesday and Thursday. So they can change the days. They can change the times as they see fit, and it's in the small print there. So you have to have a very flexible job, or a lot of people don't work. I did not work. I do not currently work while I am in the program. And honestly, it alleviated a lot of stress that came with the program because when I first started, I was very overwhelmed, and I learned to channel that, and you'll get your footing. It'll be overwhelming. It will be very overwhelming in the beginning. It's something new. You're in uncharted waters. You are in the medical field, and Xray isn't easy. I think everyone thinks like I'm just go be an X-ray tech and just make money, and it's a lot more than that. Like I said, it's also physics. You need to know how much radiation you're giving a patient safely, and it's in depth. Like I said, I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but X-ray is not. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. But X-ray is not easy. So don't go in thinking I'm just gonna go in here, pass, and cruise my way through. Because you have to remember everything. You have to retain everything that you know. You can't. It's not when school's over. Oh, I'll just forget everything. No, you have to retain it. And if you just do a short video on like someone go, like I said, go to Clover Learning. You see someone taking an X-ray, you'll see why. So yeah, go to Clover Learning and put like an X-ray. I want you guys to put an X-ray of the lumbar spine, which is your lower back, and you guys can kind of see what what I'm talking about. So yeah, so with the schedule, I need you guys to be very aware that your schedule can change. Some schools did 5 weeks, 7 weeks. Some schools did I know Grady, that school, like, they change rotations every week. So, and like I said, it could be morning, it could be night, it could be weekends. Usually only do weekends one time. I will say that. You only do weekends one time. I think they try to limit how much they give students the weekend rotations. But yeah, so just remember that they can change your schedule anytime. A lot of schools can send you up from 50 to 100 to 200 miles away from 200 miles is a stretch, but I think there is a school that put that in the fine print away from where you live, or away from the school. I think it's a school zip code. I don't think it's where you live. So wherever the school is, they can send you 150, 100, 200 miles back and forth from where you live. So make sure you read that when you're looking up a program as well. And guys, one thing I do want to mention is with this program, and specifically with my school, you do have to go through a background check. So you take a drug screening. So you know what that means. You need to have a clean panel, and also they don't if you have anything on your record. I don't believe they exclude felonies or things of that sort. Like I said, I will link the schools below so you can go, check that out for yourself. But yeah, you do need to have a you need to have a clean record. It's a medical field, you understand? And you will take a drug screening test. So I want to let you guys know that too before you even apply, because if you fail or disqualified for those reasons, I don't think that you can really apply to any other schools in your state. It varies from state to state. You can always call the admissions office and ask them that question specifically. You Google every school that you have, usually that I'm gonna every school that I have linked, there's an admission office. You get the number and you just ask them. But just keep that in mind, okay? The final question I'm gonna answer that I do get a lot, and I believe is the second most important question, is once you graduate from radiologic technology school, is there a certification or exam you have to take? And the answer is yes. Now, just to preface, like I said, I live in the state of Georgia. So if you go to a credential school for this and you graduate, you can work as an X-ray technician in Georgia. The pay is much lower because you're not certified or you don't have a licensure. Um, you don't have a license. However, you can work. There's a few other states too. I will look for them and I'll try to link that for you guys as well. But however, it's called the ARRT exam. That stands for American Registry of Radiologic Technology. Now, it's an exam that you have to take after, I believe you have up to 3 years after you graduate to take the test, or you will have to redo a program all over again. So you want to make sure you sign up for that test, and you want to take it like really right after you graduate. If you're not ready the first month or two, okay, but you want to take it pretty soon, because you trust me, it's a lot of knowledge. And like I told you, it's a lot of physics as well, which they'll go into depth and teach you. But you listen, if you're not using it, you're losing it. So yes, it's a credentialing organization, and you go take the test after. It's a cumulative. It's like patient care. It's situational questions, and it's, like I said, it's physics. And I think you have to score a cumulative of 75% to pass. And X-ray techs or aspiring X-ray techs only get 3 chances to take it, or you will have to go to school again. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're applying for the program. I know there's been a lot of talk on TikTok about how nurses, the exam that they can take, or their exam that they take, they get an unlimited number of chances. We do not. We only get 3 chances. When I graduate, I'm going to take the test about 2 weeks after. Yeah, once you have RT on the back, once you have the RT initials behind your name, that means you are a licensed radiologic technologist. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. I'm gonna put a lot of links below where it'll take you right to some of the questions that I answered. It'll take you right to the link of all these schools. And like I said, I live in Georgia, but you can Google any schools in your area. Like I said, put it in Google and put radiologic technologist program and put your zip code. And a lot of things are standardized in this program, so it'll be the same thing. If you like this video and found it helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also leave some questions below that I might be able to answer in my next video. If you want to see my everyday journey in X-ray school and clinicals in everyday life, don't forget to follow me on TikTok. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Hunter, get it together, Hunter. That is it for today. That is all. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, those are all the questions of my journey. So you can also get like a gist of like what you can also get a gist of what you might lot. Okay, another question that I get a lot is what are the prereqs for this program? Wait, what is this?